What's up, everyone? This is Zach. I'm just doing a video review of the OnePlus One, which is on the right. I recently switched from an iPhone 6. A couple days ago, I got this phone in the mail. I've had some time to play with it and kind of customize it and get a feel for how the phone works. And I just wanted to do a video to show kind of how I feel about these two phones. So first, I'm going to start with the iPhone 6. Um, I just have to say this is one of the coolest phones I've ever owned. I've been with iPhone for the last three generations. I had an iPhone 5, a 5S, and now a 6. This is definitely the thinnest of the bunch. I honestly prefer the aluminum body over any plastic. Um, the rounded glass front finish is very nice as well. Right now, I have a screen protector on it, for obvious reasons. One thing that you'll notice about iOS over Android is just how fluid iOS is compared. I mean, Android is very nice. They've updated it quite a bit, and signage in Mod 11s, which is what runs on the OnePlus One, is very smooth, and I like it a lot. But none of those really hold a candle to the stability and really the dependability of iOS. Now, what you heard was the ringtone from my other phone. Um, so, of course, iOS did have their own version of widgets, but that's one thing that Android uh, kind of does better than iOS. The widgets on iOS are nice, but they're just confined to the notification drawer and they really have limited functionality. Um, of course, the notifications are going to be very similar. One major difference between uh, the iOS and Android is with iOS you have more options whenever you swipe, which is nice because you can also reply straight from the notifications if you have text messages and things, which is something that they put in Lollipop, but OnePlus One hasn't received a Lollipop update quite yet. Um, so that's just going over iPhone. For those of you that own an iPhone, obviously you already know about all these functions and about iOS, so I'm going to move on from that. Basically, iPhone 6, solid phone. I don't really have a ton of complaints about this except for the customizability um, in iOS, but that's a software thing. The hardware of iPhone is just beautiful. I like it a lot. So, moving on to OnePlus One. First thing you'll notice as a big difference between the two is screen size. I realize it's not really a fair comparison between the 6 and the OnePlus One. It would actually be more fair to compare the 6 Plus's screen size as they are actually the same. The OnePlus One sports a 5.5-inch HD display. Another major difference is the back. The back is actually textured on the OnePlus One. It feels like sandpaper is really the best way I can describe it. But it's smooth and it's comfortable. It's scarily comfortable to use with one hand. So, of course, I would urge anyone with a smartphone that they paid, um, a couple $100 for. I would urge them to get a case, which is exactly what I did. But for this video, I took it off. Um, so, a couple things about Android that I like over iPhone. First thing is you can double tap to wake, which is a really cool thing. One major difference, and this is just going back to iPhone real quick. One complaint that I have about Android over iPhone, it's so much easier to get into your iPhone than it is to your Android. I mean, not so much easier, but faster. I mean, with Android, you get this screen, and then you can put in your dots, and then you're in. Um, with iPhone, it just scans your fingerprint, and you're good to go. I mean, it's just that simple. And that's one thing that I do like about iPhone. So, going back to the Android, we can get in by connecting the dots. It's a classic Android lock screen feature. Um, One thing you'll notice that is different right off the bat is I have a live background. I love live backgrounds. They are a battery drainer, so you have to be careful about that. But I charge my phone a lot, so it's not really a big deal for me. CyanogenMod 11S, which is what's running on this right now. Like I said before, iOS is very smooth. It's one of the smoothest mobile operating systems out there, but this comes very, very close. It is so buttery smooth to use. Um, I haven't, like I said, I've had iPhone for the last 3 generations. The last build of CyanogenMod I ever got a chance to play with before was CyanogenMod 9, and I have to say they've made leaps and bounds since then. So, first things first, we're going to go to the notification drawer, kind of like how I did with iPhone. One thing you'll notice is kind of similar how it's set up. The only difference between Android and iPhone is, or iOS, well, not the only difference, but one major difference is iOS has their control center from the bottom up, and then they have their notifications up top. Well, in Android, it's kind of all in the same place, which is nice, I have to say. So you just swipe down for your notifications, and you get all your notifications, and you have kind of a quick command center kind of thing, quick controls up here. You can also flip over, and now you have tiles that you can click. This one has a profile. You can actually put different profiles on this phone, which is kind of cool, but I don't really know why you would do that if this is just your personal phone. Um, but you can customize all of this, and you can switch back to your notifications anytime. One cool thing too is you can swipe on the right, swipe down from the right, and you get notifications. And you can swipe down from the left, and it goes straight to the command center. So you can kind of just do that real quick. It's kind of oops. It's kind of similar to just pulling up the command center in iOS. So one thing you'll notice that's kind of similar is you can reply to this email, but it does take you to the app. But you can't just reply from the notification. Like I said, that's something different that's in Lollipop, but this phone hasn't quite gotten a Lollipop update yet. They're actually working on in the next few weeks sending out a CyanogenMod 12S update, which is a build of Lollipop. So um, anyway, do like the live backgrounds here. To get to those, you just hold down on the home screen, and here's the options for wallpapers, widgets, and themes. Now, the themes are what's different from CyanogenMod and pretty much the rest of Android, because with themes, it'll open up this these settings right here. You can change pretty much everything about the operating system as far as the looks go. So, and you can see my reflection in the video, sorry. Um, so right now I've got custom fonts, and you can see my webcam, but if it will clear it up, you can see that I have a special font on there. It looks like it's handwritten. I really, really like that a lot. Just really a testament to the level of customization that you can do in Android. So you can change your fonts. You've got regular ones. There's Android L. These are all from different themes that you can do, and you can just change that real quickly and easily. You can change the boot animation. Whenever you first get the OnePlus One, this is the one that plays. It's just kind of this hexagon that rotates. Um, this is the one that I have right now. It's kind of cool whenever you restart the phone and then you just see this animation going. Um, and then eventually those dots will come together and form the word Android. It's kind of cool. So yeah, you can change pretty much everything about it. Sound packs, icons. Some of the icons are different per theme. So you can pretty much just kind of make the phone look however you want it to look. Um, so speaking of apps, you got the app drawer here, which is something that's different from iOS and Android, of course. Um, Another cool thing is, as you can see, whenever I swipe across, it kind of does this cool animation. You can actually change those animations by holding down on the home screen, and then there are three little dots right there, and you just click on those three dots, and here you go. You can change. Right now I've got it on cylinder in, but you can change it to do different animations whenever you scroll. Oh, and see, that's one thing about Android that you're going to run into is kind of buggy. Um, and that's what I'm talking about. iOS is just completely reliable. It doesn't really crash that much. Um, at any rate, this is still really smooth. But yeah, you can pretty much just have different animations that you can choose from. I just prefer this one. I feel like I mean, that's my favorite one. Um, so yeah, you can change that. You can change the way that the app drawer animations are, or the way that that changes whenever you swipe across, and the home screen, of course. You can turn the search bar on and off. There's a search panel, which basically, if you just scroll all the way, or I'll turn it on, I'll show you, but it's Google Now. I haven't really used Google Now a lot. I've heard a lot of people say good things about it, but I just haven't gotten a chance to use it. Um, I just don't. I don't know. I just haven't gotten a chance to really play around with it because every time I do, it's just really kind of confusing. So, but that's you swipe all the way to the left, and it takes you to this where you can automatically search. There's the voice button, and you can tell it to do things kind of like Siri, like set a timer for 10 seconds.
Setting timer.
Not quite as quick as Siri, but still effective, still gets the job done. You can tell it to wake you up at a certain time. You can tell it to set a timer, um, all those cool things. In this screen, what I just did, I held down the menu button. This is kind of where your multitasking is. It looks a lot different, not a lot different, but it looks different from iOS. Let's see if I can get a couple apps pulled up here so I can just show you. So iOS is kind of it looks a lot more like how the Windows Phone multitasking is set up, where it's this way. If I do multiple apps with Android, so we'll just pull up a few apps here as well, and then I'll just see it's all listed this way. And of course, you can swipe, just make them go away. Same with iOS, you can just kind of swipe. You just can't swipe down. So oops. So those are some of the things that I've done with the phone. There are a couple other customization options in the settings menu. Uh, there are actually a lot. Some of these settings are really buried in here, and that's an understatement. I mean, there are some things that you just really kind of have to dig for, kind of look for. One thing I really do like, you can customize the status bar, which is this bar up here. You can click, or you can choose where you want the clock. Um, you can have it hidden, you can have it off to the right, which is default in center. I prefer it in the center. It's closer to iOS kind of look. It kind of makes it look a little clean up here. You can change the battery status. You can have it an icon, portrait, landscape. You can have the circle, which is what I had before, which I really like. You can have it as just text, where it just says, right now I have 88%. Um, and of course, you can hide it. I don't know why you would do that, but you do have the option if you so choose. Um, of course, there's also brightness control, which is something I really like about this because on the fly, you can change the brightness just by sliding across the status bar. So that is something that is really cool about Android. And you can choose the signal status, which is text or hidden or just the icon. I just have it on the icon. So you can also change the lock screen, things about the lock screen, different slider shortcuts. I haven't really messed around with that because I can't really, honestly, I can't get it to work correctly. Just another thing about Android. Um, it's kind of bittersweet about it, how customizable it is, but at the same time, it can be confusing to use. Especially, I haven't used it in 3 years, so still kind of rediscovering. the functionalities and different things you can do. One really cool thing I do like about the lock screen though is you can go here, you can swipe from the right, oops, and you get the camera. So you get quick access to your camera. And the camera on this phone is actually very good. It can record 4K video. It can take really good pictures. I haven't really taken too many, but I've done Skype with this, and there's me right there. Hi. Um, and the front-facing camera actually has an 80-degree field of view, so it's actually it's pretty wide how far the front facing camera is, or it can see, and it's a very high quality. If you and you can also swipe down here, and you can see your calendar, and then you can hit this little lock, and it'll go back to this guy. But if you swipe down and you swipe to the left, right here, I've got Reddit. So you can actually view the front page of Reddit, or you can actually set it to whatever subreddit or whatever you want. I'm actually using Bacon Reader right here. But you can actually add other apps to the lock screen. Let me put in my password right here. And you can just have different things, your Gmail, your, oops, you can have your Gmail. Let me go back to that. Got a text message. Regular email, Google Now, Google Plus Photos, Hangouts, messaging, Torch. You can have, which is the flashlight, of course, Tumblr. So yeah, it's just a couple things that you can just quickly view from the lock screen, which I think is kind of cool. So you can kind of view on the fly. Now, I mentioned Hangouts earlier. Hangouts is a built-in app. I think it's Google's attempt at making something similar to like the BlackBerry Messenger or iMessage. It's kind of like yeah, it's a messaging service. I do not like it. It is buggy. The notifications don't work right. They don't pop up on the lock screen. It doesn't use my custom ringtones. So as long as it's still on this version until Google updates it, maybe it's different in Lollipop. I don't know, but I don't like Hangouts at all. I'm actually using a different SMS app called Chomp, which and this is another thing I like about Android is that third-party apps have a lot of control over basically what they can do in the operating system as opposed to iOS, which doesn't let the third party do a whole lot. Um, Earlier, when I got that text message, it popped up in a window, and I had the ability to reply straight from that window, which is really nice. It was something I was complaining about earlier that I was saying is also in Lollipop. But like I said, a lot of the third-party apps have the ability to put that functionality already in here. So actually, whenever I get a text message, I can still reply from the lock screen if I do receive it. So another cool thing about the lock screen too is that uh, Android has facial recognition. I don't have it on right now. It's kind of a pain to use because sometimes it doesn't recognize you even though you're staring right at it. There's also a feature in it that so that no one can just hold a picture up to it. You have to blink. That can be annoying too because you can blink, sit there and be blinking at it, and it just says, "Oh, I didn't see your blink." So that's kind of annoying. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I've done with my Android device. Obviously, you can see all my widgets here. I've got my Hue lights, Bacon Reader, Spotify, and here's this calculator widget. That's kind of cool if I click on it. So it brings up this calculator here, and I can go to, I mean, I can go to anything like, oh, I don't want to go to that. I can go here, and then I can still use my calculator. So it can be in an app and it's just a widget, and it's kind of like the Facebook Messenger. So anyway, there are a lot of cool apps for Android. There are apps that help with stability, like Clean Master, that kind of manages your RAM. This phone does have 3 gigs of RAM, so it's pretty smooth. You can utilize all 3 gigs of it. Right now, it's using 2 gigs, and if I click this cleanup button, it will reduce that. So it just saved me 416 megabytes of RAM. But there are a lot of cool apps that you can download from Google Play. Um, they've really stepped up their game on the quality of apps. Back in the day when I had Android, a few years ago, the apps were kind of lackluster. A lot of the apps that were really good were also on iOS, so it was kind of like, well, I can still just get an iPhone and have all the good apps anyway. But they have a lot of apps on here that aren't on iOS that are equally good, um, if not better, because, like I was saying earlier, they can get into the operating system a little better than iOS will let them. So, at any rate, that's kind of what I've done with my Android phone and my thoughts on it. Sorry this video took so long. There was just a lot to cover. Um, so I guess I'll end this with another cool function in this is you can double tap up here and lock the screen, which is nice whenever you have your phone just sitting on the table and you just want to check a few things real quick, and then you don't want to like reach over here and press a button all kind of awkward. You can just tap it. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Uh, until next time.